Calm, focus, happiness. Welcome to Mindfulness Mode one more time. And today I'm excited because I have a guest back who has been with me a couple of times before. And this time I'm here with his business partner and life partner. And her name is Brittany Churchill. So Ian Morris, Brittany Churchill, you've been here before, Ian. We've talked about all your work in music and holistic wellness and how you've been just doing incredible things, just cranking out the music, helping people with their anxiety, with their sleep issues, helping people to move forward with your fantastic music located at listeningtosmile.com. And as I've said before, what a great name that is, Listening to Smile, because, you know, we all want to increase our happiness, even just a bit in our lives. And there's so many reasons to do that these days. So you've done so many things with your Listening to Smile, and you've moved forward a lot in the last couple of years since I've talked to you before. So Ian, I'm going to start with you. It's great to have you with us, Ian, again, and just do a little catch up with us since you've been with us before on the show. What's happening in the last year or two, Ian?
Yeah, a lot of growth, a lot of figuring things out, So it's been interesting. I feel like the work that I'm doing and the people who are working with me at Listening Smile, Brittany, and a few other people that have been blessed to come into the picture working with me. It's really interesting. Every person has brought different connections, different ideas, different energies to the picture. And I feel like, all of us, it's interesting whenever someone brings up like self-made. I always really look at the picture because there's so many people behind those self-made people. And I also believe that spirit, opens doors for us in ways that we can't even see. And so I definitely feel that with the team that has come in with me, with Listening to Smile. And so the last 2 years has just been moving into workplace wellness, working a lot with companies and their employees with music. Cliff Bar was one of those companies, the protein bar company. We've worked with call centers and a lot of different other like individual businesses, like medium-sized businesses with their employees. And so it's been really awesome to grow into that side of things with our music, but also really amping up the personal frequency coaching. So really working with individuals for a month long and showing them that consistent use of mindfulness techniques paired with this music can really have breakthroughs for people. And so those are really the two areas that have really grown. And also we've kind of really specifically targeted and focused with our business. And so we're still working with single practitioners and single holistic practitioners around the world. We're in 9 different countries now. So we've grown to a couple other areas. And it's just been really, really cool because I've seen the growth of the music. Brittany has come in and she's really helped a lot with the write-ups and the information that's delivered to the affiliates every month, and just channeling in these amazing writings and support for the music that has just been phenomenal. The people who are working with the content, we started making videos and delivering more content. So it's more transparency behind the music, and then bringing in energies that really assist with people to really get connected to the music and then utilize it in their communities to really help. And so it's just been huge for me, and it's been something to really stand back and watch and just be really in gratitude and thankfulness that Spirit has brought in just a really awesome dream team of people to help. And so I think like the music on my own, I can make it, but if it doesn't get out to the people, if it doesn't have assistance and support for the way that it's delivered and delivered in a way that makes people excited and passionate about it, it's just not the same, so there's
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
elements
totally.
Yeah, a lot of elements to the business side besides just making the content.
Yeah,
So
thanks for sharing that, Ian. That's fantastic how you've progressed. And Brittany, I'm really excited to meet you and talk to you about your life as part of listening to Smile. So, Brittany, tell me, you joined listening to Smile, what, a couple of years ago? How has your life changed, and how has the mindfulness part of your life changed since joining listening to Smile?
Oh, yeah. So I am excited to be here, first of all. Thanks a lot for having me, Bruce.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so it was probably about 4 years ago that I started delving into the power of frequency and really having my own personal journey with it, with the power of sound, learning more about the mind, body, and emotional connection. And so, and music was a part of that. And it wasn't until probably the beginning of it was the end of 2020 that I had heard of Ian and his music. And or maybe it was the end of 2021.
2021.
Yeah, the end of 2021. But I had already like started practicing with frequency minded music on Spotify, just whatever I could find, and using it for sleep, using it for meditation. And then I found Ian and listening to Smile, and his music was extremely different. It felt very, very different. And I believe a lot of that has to go into the way it's produced and the intention that he sets when he makes the music, and then his style of mixing and mastering. It feels far above anything that I ever found on Spotify. So I became an affiliate. I joined, and we didn't really talk much about that in your opening there, but he has a membership program, and it's an annual membership, and you get these monthly albums every single month that are in alignment with the Vedic astrology. So I joined personally, just wanting to learn more about this music, have it in my life. And just over a period of 8 months, I started utilizing it to create my own meditations for groups of people. And it wasn't until August of 2022, September 2022, we started having more conversations about me coming on board to do more work within listening to Smile. And so it took a couple of months, and then I hopped on and started helping out in the back end and really helping build out this business. And it's been, to your point, or to your question, a drastic change in my life. It's in every aspect. I've really started utilizing this music to curate my life in every way. And so I, have 2 kids. And so just having this music to use as a tool to amplify my life, to produce more peace, more clarity, more calmness in my home, and ultimately harmony. Like that's my goal, is like how to have harmony amongst my family and my kids and the energy inside my home. And so what's fantastic about being on board with listening to Smiles, we get to take that and share it with the world. And it's the coolest thing to be a part of.
Well, it's very cool to know Ian and to know you, Brittany. Now, Ian, I know that you create albums for specific purposes, and I think that's fantastic because there are so many people out there that have specific difficulties in their life, such as anxiety, or they're dealing with certain kinds of other kind of traumas, you might say. And one of them is inability to sleep, to get to sleep or to stay sleeping. Can you tell me how you use the music you create to help people sleep specifically?
yeah. So I think a lot of us carry tension and just stress in our shoulders, our back, our hips. There's a lot of different physical ailments that start to make themselves known when people are holding in or suppressing emotions, or they're just constantly stressed and overworked and overwhelmed. And that's one of the things Brittany really focuses on with her coaching with women, is like the overwhelmed. And I think that's probably the biggest thing clients that come to us for help is it's the overwhelm that's keeping them from sleeping. It's the stress of like the mind turning and churning of all the things they have to do the next day, or the things they don't have that they need, whether that's money or whether that's different resources, or whether it's a different job, whatever it is, right? That overwhelmed is what leads to the stress, and then the stress just creates all of the hormones that keep us restless, you know? And so what we do with the music is we're utilizing binaural beats, you know, and I'm sure you're familiar with those, Bruce, but
Yes.
I'll just go over it real quickly for people who don't. But a binaural beat is typically utilized with headphones. And so you have like a tone in the left ear and a tone in the right ear, and they'll be different. So 100 hertz in the left ear, 104 in the right. And so what that does is it creates the brain, it creates a wobble. And so that's where the term beat comes from, is it's that and so it's that dissonance between those two tones. So what happens, the brain does not like that. So the left hemisphere and right hemisphere synchronize and create one tone. But what the tone that it creates is the difference between those two tones. So if this was 100 and this was 104, what it does in the brain is it creates a 4 hertz tone to create that unity, so that it's not feeling off, you know, making you dizzy or off balance. It's like it's a counteracting mechanism of the brain. So what's neat about the brain is it has a frequency follow response. So if I play that tone for about 7 to 10 minutes with a person, that binaural beat, the brain falls into alignment with that 4 hertz. And then what happens is there's a chemical process that takes place where the brain starts signaling to the rest of the body that this shift has occurred. And then these hormones are produced. And on a cellular level, we go through a change where the heart rate lowers. You have a lowering of the heart rate, lowering of the brainwave activity. And then you see typically when people are listening to that, the shoulders drop. You know, people start, after a few minutes, they start doing that head bob where they're like falling asleep and going to sleep. And the reason that is it's not that the music is causing them to fall asleep. The music has released that tension. And a person who's carrying tension for long periods of time and then suddenly it's gone, there's this huge relaxing feeling that comes over them, and it's easier for them to fall into that sleep pattern. So it's something that a lot of people find useful, that they'll listen to it all through the night on a speaker, and it still has the same effect, because what we're doing is we call enhanced binaural beats with listening to smile, the LTS method, listening to smile method. And it's basically combining binaural beats as a carrier frequency and then a pure tone, whatever the tone is that we're focusing on, whether that is a pain relief frequency or something that's for opening the heart. You're delivering like the lead singer of the band on that binaural beat. So it's just a really powerful, effective way that it can help someone find ease and relaxation in a quick manner. You know, you're talking somewhere between 7 to 15 minutes for some people. It depends on how long they've been in that state. But I would say typically 7 to 10 minutes is where you see the difference, and people really have a lot of benefit of like getting more sleep for their health.
Right. Thanks for sharing that, Ian. And Brittany, as a mother, I want to ask you how some of these tools with music, with listening to smile, has helped you to be a better mother to your 2 children.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I love this question. So I often tell people that this music is like a gateway for people to be still and know God. And that know God part, I feel like, is up to the individual listener. Like, what is that experience? What are you encountering? What are you knowing? And so for some, and for myself, sometimes that's like this energy of needing to feel support, this energy of needing to feel peace or clarity on something. And so oftentimes I've gotten into the practice of figuring out, or asking myself, what do I actually need in this moment? If I feel the overwhelm coming in, I'm like, okay, what do I actually need in this moment? And sometimes that's those things, support. And so this music, it gives me that space to just like in a matter of 5 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever I have time for, it allows me to drop in and actually have like a meditative experience where I can bring that energy forward that I need. Like, okay, let me just wash away whatever is like feeling so intense right now and actually find the clarity that I need. And a lot of times I use this music in the car. So if the kids are rambunctious and it's feeling overwhelming or they're fighting, I put on the music and suddenly everybody's like, okay, we're all good suddenly. And it's what I'm doing is I'm curating an atmosphere. So using these frequencies and the intention that's set behind them, it's actually creating an energy in the environment that I'm in, right? I'm in this sonic field, right? And so I am the crafter, the architect of that field. And it's like, what intention do I want? Well, the kids are fighting right now. So why don't we put on some music so we can just calm ourselves down, and maybe everybody can find resolve and like clarity, or this music's really great whenever the kids are doing homework and then also sleeping. So I use a few of the frequencies to help with my son, who's working through some deep emotional stuff. And so he's come to love this, and he likes to put on the headphones before bedtime and listen to the music and help himself work through his emotions. And I, of course, guide him. But yeah, there's it's been really, really helpful in a lot of different ways. But I think the main thing for me is just becoming, as a mother, just the master curator of the energy of my home. And this music is a vital tool for me right now.
Oh, that's fantastic. It really is. And Ian, I met you first way back in 2019, and we did that first episode. It was episode 403, and it was called Listening to Smile with composer Ian Morris. So Mindful Tribe, if you want to go back and listen to that episode, you can do that. Just go to mindfulnessmode.com and then type in 403 in the search bar, and you'll find that episode. It was so much fun learning about what you were doing back at that time. And then later you ended up being on Paul Chek's show, and his podcast is called Living 4D with Paul Chek. Tell me how things started to change after that experience, Ian.
Yeah. So Paul Chek is a kind of a guru in the fitness. He's a nutritionalist, a physical trainer, but he's so much more than that. I would say he's probably one of the smartest, well-rounded, holistic practitioners that I've ever come across. Like, he knows every muscle group, fascia, skeletal structure. Like, he knows the human body, unlike probably very few people in the world, probably rivaling some doctors, I would say. To even down to the organ functions and the cellular workings of the body. It's really insane. So he has so much knowledge. When I went to his house, he lives out in San Diego. And when I went to his house, it's beautiful. He's got 14 acres of land and just, beautiful nature. And the types of people that he's working with, he's worked with Kobe Bryant and Tony Robbins and, big people in a lot of different things, from the sports realm to entertainment. And he just really works with rebuilding people's knowledge of fitness and nutrition and health, and breaks down where they're at and then rebuilds with this new knowledge, wealth of knowledge that he has. And so getting on his podcast was wild. I had sent him an email maybe a year before and said, I really like your podcast. I think we could have a good conversation. And like a year later, his wife messaged me and said, hey, Paul Chek wants to talk to you. And I was like, okay. And so she put him on the phone right then. And he was just so excited, and we connected, and it was really awesome. And he was just like, let's do a podcast right now. Let's just go for it. And so we did a podcast because he really connected with the music. It was something that he felt had a good synergy to it, and he really started using it. And still uses it to this day, where he's writing a new book. He's putting out a pretty large collection, like a 3 or 4 volume book that he's putting out. And he said that he just uses this music for his creativity and the process of writing. He uses it. And I know that he uses it with some clients, when he's training and doing different things with them, especially for meditation purposes, right? So getting on his podcast was really awesome. It was a challenge because he's really smart, very smart on a lot of different subjects. And so you have to really stay with it and be focused. And when you're in conversation with Paul, and he's a very fast mover, he just, keeps on firing. So getting on that podcast was huge. Because he has I think he has 30,000 students and 2,000 over 2,000 teachers that works in his network. And so he has a thing called the Chek Institute. and they certify people on holistic training. And so being a part of that and getting into his network was huge. There was lots of people that were interested in joining as an affiliate. There was a lot of people that bought albums, and there was just people that really enjoyed the conversation. I think Paul said that we hit like 70,000 views on YouTube and like more than that on like Spotify and iTunes. And so, it was one of his most viewed podcasts. And so he had me on. So I was on there twice. And both times really brought a lot of connection and a lot of people coming to listening to Smile to check it out. So it was really a blessing to be on that.
That is fantastic. It really is. Yeah. And Mindful Tribe, check that out. Go to the podcast, Living 4D with Paul Chek, and you will be able to search that and find Ian Morris on that show. So Brittany, I want to ask you about your coaching practice, because I know that you coach women. I know that that's a big part of your life. Tell us about your approach. Tell us about a story of someone you've coached and how you've helped them to transition to a better place.
Yeah. Really what I do is I help women work through emotional overwhelm. So sometimes we are so close to our own stuff that we can't see clearly, and maybe we need a breakthrough, maybe we need peace, maybe we need an understanding of something. And what I do is I walk people through intuitive guided meditations, and I basically help them walk into their own inner blueprint. And I'm just the guide. And what's powerful about this is they're finding the answers for themselves within themselves. I'm just the guide helping them find it through this deep guided meditation, if this makes sense. So what makes this visual. It's very visual. So we're walking into your own inner blueprint, and stuff comes up where they're having conversations with people that have passed away. They're seeing themselves in a completely different form. And all of this is symbolic. All of it's meaningful because it's coming from within themselves. They're the ones pulling this imagery through, and I'm helping them find understanding and leaning into the energies that are showing up, or the imagery that's showing up, and it's telling a story. And what's really powerful about this, Bruce, is like, it's one thing for me to tell somebody, you are highly intelligent, you have what it takes, you're going to do amazing things, you're deeply admired by the people around you. And somebody could hear that, but that information lives up here. It's in their mind, and they're like, oh, well, that's nice. And I think I understand what you're saying. And it pumps me up. It makes me feel hyped about, myself. Thanks for sharing that. But it's another thing to go through this meditative process and to find clues about yourself and a deep, deep understanding of yourself, and walk through these things that are showing up in images, and find those words, find those affirmations for yourself, because the information that comes through lives in a different place. It lives inside your body. You're literally embodying this knowing that you're intelligent, or you're admired, or whatever it is that you feel like you need. And so what happens is it changes you on a cellular level, and it almost anchors in that energy. So people are changed afterwards. They feel freer, they feel lighter, or they feel more grounded. They feel like they have the answers they need to actually feel empowered to go into the rest of their day or their week or whatever project they have, with this deep, deep knowing of who they are. So what I'm doing is I'm helping people break free from the emotional overwhelm, or the static, or the noise, to get clear on who they are, and so they can feel empowered to live their lives. And wow. So I do that through this deep meditation and then intuitive work, and help them move this energy.
Right. That is fantastic.
Energy, right? Yeah. Everything's energy. Emotions are just energy in motion. Yep. And the feelings and just the stories we're telling ourselves, it's just energy. And I help people find a way to neutralize emotionally charged things and emotionally charged stories, to find that peace and deep, deep knowing of themselves.
That's fantastic that you're able to do that and help so many women with that. So kudos to you for doing that work, spending the time and effort and energy to do that, as well as being a mother, because that's a full-time job as it is. Ian, I want to dig into the actual process that you use. And we've talked about this before, but let's say you're sitting down and you want to help let's say some people with bereavement, and you want to create an album on that topic. Somebody's suffering from bereavement, and you know that not only somebody is, but hundreds and thousands of people in the world will be able to use this music that you create on that one particular topic. How do you go about it? What happens in your mind when you sit down to create music on a specific topic?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is whatever the target focus is, because the process is very similar. What changes the process is what your focus and intention is behind it. So with something like where you're working with a heart, someone who is facing, I mean, the heart can be multi-dimension, right? So you have someone that could be grieving, someone that could be super in love and it didn't work out and they're heartbroken, right? You can have someone who is not showing themselves the self-love and self-care that they need. They're too harsh on themselves and their heart might be shut down because of years or consistency of having depression or feeling heartbroken for long periods of time and disconnected from the world. So whatever the target focus is that you're working with, first you start with the root of what body organs or what chakras are we going to target for this ailment, this issue that they're dealing with. And so for something like disease, like if someone had pancreatic cancer or someone had colon cancer, like the things that I went through, right? So you basically are targeting different organs of those bodies. And I think the biggest part of it is explaining why, having a transparency with the client that you're working with and saying like, like Louise Hay has the book You Can Heal Your Life. And in that book, she talks about different emotional states being trapped in the body and over long periods of time, them turning into physical pain and physical issues to deal with, that these emotions have now become physical because they were not dealt with, right? So there's a lot of organs in the body that from Chinese medicine all the way through history, people believe that our organs have their own energy, right? And those energies interact with our emotional states. And so these organs work with different emotional states. And so there's a healthy version of that, and there's an unhealthy or diseased version of that, right? So whatever ailment or issue that I'm targeting, I'm going to look at body organs, I'm going to look at chakra systems, and I'm also going to look at the individual. Are they into astrology? Do they believe in this? Is this something that they want to work with? If it is, we can even bring in planetary frequencies and different ideals behind that philosophy of like interacting with time and energy in that way. So there's a lot of different components that go into making up the music. But I think the biggest thing that I do is whether it's a personal client or it's the albums we make monthly, the first thing I do is I ask God to clear my channel, take away whatever issues or baggage or any kind of energy that I have and just clear that open and bring in the energy that people use me as a conduit to bring this energy in that people need at this month and or need during this personal session. And so I really get really pinpoint, targeted, and focused. And I just have been working for so long. This is 8 years now, Bruce, that I've been listening to Smile. And I've been doing music since I was 18, 19 years old. So it's really, I'm 46 now. So there's like a lot of years under the belt, a lot of experience and a lot of ups and downs, peaks and valleys to learn and experience this work. And I feel like I've committed my life to the performing arts in a sense. And then that grew into working in the holistic field and helping people by saying this exactly, not saying guaranteeing that you're going to have this is going to work for you. This is what I say when I'm working with people is I say, here's some of the things I went through. I went through diabetes. I went through colon cancer, went through MS, went through different things that were challenging my system all through. And all of them were from trauma. All of them were from unresolved emotional issues that grew into ailments. And I was doing the best of my knowledge at those times to deal with them, but I did not have the skill set oftentimes, and had to learn, grow, and also different groups of people, different books, different movies coming in at the right time to keep me on the path, right? So long story short, all I'm saying is this process helped me. And so what I tell people is, I've watched my mother heal, I've watched friends and family heal, I've watched myself heal using this music and these techniques, and it might work for you too. I would love for you to try this out and see how it goes. And so it's one of the biggest things that I think we're right now in the age of intuition. And what I mean by that is, we've been so disconnected from our heart, so multitasking and distracted from our own bodies talking to us, saying like, when I eat this food, the body's like, hey, I'm not jiving with this food that you're eating. But a lot of people are so busy and so distracted that they're not even paying attention. So I think what this music does is it helps you get in touch with yourself. It helps you, like Brittany said, be still and know God. But it's even deeper than that. It's the next level, where when you consistently use it, you're getting to see that quiet time. You're getting to see connection to spirit. But now you're starting to hear your body complain. It's saying, hey, when you feel this way, it doesn't resonate with me anymore. I don't want to feel depressed anymore. Or the body saying, when you eat bread or you eat this certain type of food, that it doesn't jive with you, because everyone's different, right? But the body is talking. And I think a lot of us are not hearing it because we're so overwhelmed, distracted, and like not tuned in. And so I think this really helps with that.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Thanks for explaining that process you go through, Ian. Brittany, Ian and I have talked about this topic before, about the topic of bullying. And I used to work in this full time for quite some time. And I'm intrigued at how mindfulness and bullying dovetail with each other. Do you have a story, Brittany, about bullying, maybe in your life sometime, where mindfulness would have made a difference? Is there something you can share with us about this topic, Brittany?
Maybe bullying myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just that inner dialogue that can happen, where just especially as women, we pick ourselves apart, like, because all this information is coming in at us, telling us how to look, how to be, how to feel, and just as an adolescent growing up, you're trying to find your way. You're trying to find how to fit in, how to feel like you have a place. And so I'm a Leo, and so I struggle with perfectionism. And I noticed this early on in my life, because it started becoming like a problem with progress for me. I would get stuck in analysis paralysis, or I'd almost become OCD about things, and I would take too much time on something because I wanted to be just perfect. And so, another part of that is this inner dialogue, where you feel like it's not good enough, or it's wrong, and you don't have enough information, all these things, and so much noise. And so, I think early on in my young adult life, in adolescence, I feel like it would have been so vital to understand mindfulness and how to actually, this music is a tool to drop into that mindfulness, to feel the connection between my mind, my body, and my emotions. And I think my journey of this actually really started probably 12 years ago, when I maybe even longer than that. It was like in 2010, when I started realizing the importance of resting, because I was like always going, fill my day with as much as possible. And then I was like, wait, what is this thing called rest? And it's like, realizing the power behind just being still. And I worked at the place that I worked at. We all had like a special word that meant a lot to us on our name tag. And I chose the word stillness. And so for 2 years, I was wearing stillness on my chest, on my name. And just to feel like, really, what does this stillness actually mean? And how can I learn to do that more? Even like when I'm going about a busy day, how do I, and ways that I would do that was I'd stay in the slow lane of traffic and choose to embrace the pause. And, at the grocery store, just stay in the long line and just embrace this moment of slowness and just see what shows up. And I would say probably in the last 5 years, really diving deep into German new medicine and to frequencies in this music really, really helped me get a deeper understanding of like what's really going on with my body is communicating to me. And, you know, Ian was talking about this when people are trying to sleep at night, like that there's so much, I think our body is trying to tell us. And sometimes our minds are racing and sometimes they're not. But for whatever reason, we can't go to sleep. But it's our body is like, sometimes knows before our mind does that, like, this is not okay. Something going on in your life is not okay. And it's stressful and your body's holding that energy and we're not clued into it yet. And this mindfulness practice helps us drop in, listen to the body, actually see the three, the mind, body, and emotions all as one working together. And I feel like this music is a tool for us to help find those clues and unravel it and process and release, so we can find that freedom, that spaciousness from within ourselves.
Yeah, I love that process and release. Yeah, that's fantastic. Ian, we have talked a lot about people that have influenced you over the years. And as we move forward in the interview, I'm going to ask you some quick answer questions that are just 30-second answers that you can answer and kind of give us some feedback. But before, I also want to mention that, you know, you've created all these different albums and they've helped so many people. And Mindful Tribe, you can receive 20% off the albums if you purchase them through this special code that we're going to be talking about here. So I want you to keep that in mind. 20% off is significant. And so, like I said, as we move forward, Ian, I'm asking you some 30-second answers. And the first one is this, and it's about a person that has been a powerful influence. And maybe that's changed since we last talked, but who would you suggest has been a powerful influence to you in your life and in your business listening to Smile?
Oh, so there's so many people, like it would be hard to target one. And if I had to pick one, especially in these last, few years, it would be Britney. And the reason I say that is because I think when you're single and you go through healing and you're learning to, like she said, process and release, I think some of the easiest things to do is after you've done it for 6 months or a year and you've been reading books, challenging your dark side, having questions with things that you've done in the past and wanting to become a better person, make better choices, those types of things that we go through in that talk that she was, referring to. I think you get to a point where you're like, hey, I'm really strong. I'm doing good. I'm real proud of myself, and then you get into a relationship where someone is mirroring back to you things that you haven't even seen of yourself, like been observant of. And I think that these observations, when you're in a space where the container is soft and loving, can be challenging to your ego, so your ego has to learn to submit in these processes. Your heart has to learn to open. You have to learn to see yourself and the other person in a different light. And I think that it's some of the biggest spiritual work that we're here to do. And it's not just in intimate relationships, it's also in family structures, it's in business, coworkers. It's think about how many times you've had a job and someone at the job space just really did not resonate with you and you were very challenged in having conversations. Maybe people are blessed and never had that. I definitely had that happen. And I think even family dynamics, you can love someone so deeply and there can be things that they do that rub you the wrong way and you're very challenged in meeting those emotions and then opening the heart and then filtering these experiences through the heart. And I think that's what I'm learning so deeply in this relationship with Brittany.
That's awesome. And I have to cut you off because that's the 30 seconds and a bit over that. But thank you, Ian. So Brittany, I want to ask you a 30-second question, and that is about emotions and how mindfulness and possibly the music of listening to Smile has helped you to deal with your emotions in a different way.
Yeah. I think just deep self-awareness. So when I listen to this music, I feel it moving things in my body. I remember one particular day where I know this is 30 seconds, I'll say it really, really fast. So I had a lot of heart stuff happening, like heavy, intense pressure, not physically, but like emotionally happening. And with a situation outside the house that it was just like intense. And I put on Heartwave music. One of the albums is called Heartwave. And so it's, you know, the frequency of love, the heart chakra, all those. And I just felt everything dissipate. And it was just this breath that it gave me. And so what it does is it helps me find that spaciousness to like, and then neutralize the emotional charge of what I was feeling. And so I can actually observe it. And when I can observe it in neutrality, then I'm working with something, right? Then I can actually find the truth of what is actually there. And instead of just feeling so intensely about something that maybe isn't necessarily true. And when I can find that spaciousness as well, I can get clarity on what do I need to do or not do in this moment. And so you find freedom through that. Yeah.
Find freedom. Great. Ian, we're talking about breathing. Okay, so let's talk about breathing and how maybe the music that you've created can help us to breathe more deeply, more freely, more openly. Let's just talk a little bit about that for 30 seconds.
Okay. So I think a lot of people have the perception that I breathe every day, you know, people that are not tuned into mindfulness or breathing. And I think like we work really hard to show the difference between conscious breath and just breath for survival, and like how different the emotional state is. And so when you take in a deep breath on a conscious level, what you're doing is you're creating more oxygen in the system, more blood flow, you're creating more optimization of your organs in your body. And so anything with breath added to it is going to be enhanced. And I believe music is the same. The music that we're creating can enhance that breath work, and the breath work can enhance the music experience. And I think they're very complementary.
Thank you. And Brittany, are there any books that jump into your mind that can help with mindfulness?
You know, honestly, the one of the best books that really started my journey on mindfulness, two books. They're actually by the same person, Michael Singer, is The Surrender Experiment and The Untethered Soul. The Surrender Experiment is more of like his story of his life, but it's interesting because the way he lived his life was unusual. And it was this deep like flow of what he felt naturally to do and how one thing led to the next. And so it makes you think differently about how your life is and how you can find flow. And it doesn't have to always seem logical, but like there and how they all like actually are connected and linked together. And I don't know if that made sense the way I explained that, but The Untethered Soul really was, it took it more on a deeper level of this understanding of emotions and their connection to your body and your mindset. I think those were really great books for me in the beginning. Yeah,
Brittany, I agree. Those are terrific books. And I'll put links in the show notes to those books. And the show notes are at mindfulnessmode.com. So check that out. So Ian, let's talk about an app. So I know listening to Smile is amazing. Let's talk about an app that you would recommend. Do you have an app for listening to Smile?
So what we have is through Bandcamp. Like when someone purchases an album, there's a free app that they can download and they can listen to the music that they purchase on the phone. And the app is free. They can download it from Bandcamp, just bandcamp.com. They get the app downloaded, then they make a purchase of our music. And then as you know, there's 12 to 15 albums on our wellness series, which is available to the public. These are for personal use, you know, albums. And so someone buys 2 or 3 of those and then they put them in their app and they can just listen to their phone on their phone at their convenience. So we have that. But an app that I would suggest is, there's a lot of different apps out there, but I think that Insight Timer for me is a neat app. I feel like it has too much content, you know, like it's overwhelming when you go on there to find stuff. But if you have time to sift through it, there's some really great things on Insight Timer. I think Insight Timer is a neat app. My only complaint would be just kind of limit the content. There's just so much on there. But besides that, I think there's some really neat stuff. So
yeah, Insight Timer is terrific. I know I put some meditations on there myself, and it is a fantastic app. And you could go on there and search what you're looking for, search a topic, or search a person's name. Yeah, you can really find some excellent material there. So yeah, we're going to make this available for you, Mindful Tribe, to get a reduced price on the albums, 20% off. Go to listeningtosmile.com/mindfulness mode. And don't forget mindfulness with one L, because I know I've even made the mistake. And, back when I was starting the podcast, it's just so natural to put those two L's in there, but there's just really one L in the word mindfulness. So mindfulness mode is the code that you're going to put in there. And Brittany, do you have any final words of advice for us before we wrap up our interview?
Yeah, I don't know. I think honestly, give this music a chance. I think allow wherever you're at, whether you're dealing with emotional overwhelm, sleep, or focus, inner peace, whatever your need is, I would just ask you to give this music a chance to see what actually comes through for you, and just explore. And working with the frequencies, and reach out to us if like you have any questions on what frequency you should be using. There's so much here, and Ian has created like an incredible wellness series, and there's an archive, and so there's a lot in the archive, and so there's new fresh stuff that he'll pull through and make available on the wellness series. And so I think when you're utilizing the music, just this is my advice: allow yourself to be curious about yourself. Become a master self-observer. So when this music is playing and you're experiencing it for the first time, just see everything that comes through as interesting, whether it's something that's shifting in your body, whether you feel suddenly very emotional, whether suddenly you're remembering a memory from 10 years ago that you haven't thought about in 10 years. And just seeing all of this as like clues and information. And that helps neutralize the process. If you're utilizing this music for deep inner work, just see things as curious and interesting. Become the master self-observer as you process and release.
Great advice. Ian, it's been such an honor to have you as a friend since 2019, have you on the show twice. Mindful Tribe, check out the other two shows, Relax and Heal with Sound. You can search that on the search bar. And the other one is Listening to Smile with composer Ian Morris. So I'm so grateful to have this chance to talk to both of you this time. And Ian, thank you again for reaching out and getting connected way back in 2019 so that we could have these really, really valuable discussions and help people who are experiencing some of these challenges in life. I just want to thank you wholeheartedly for all the work you do helping people in the world through the music you create. So thanks again for being on the show.
thank you so much, Bruce. We
Thanks,
really
Bruce.
enjoyed being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. All the best. Bye now.
Bye.